We often make the mistake of thinking that borders are permanent. We grow up looking at maps and school textbooks. They're solid, unwavering lines drawn in ink. And we assume that this is the reality. We assume that unless a war is declared, unless shots are fired, those lines stay where they are. But history teaches us a different lesson. Borders aren't changed by ink. They are changed by presence. They are changed by whoever has the will to stand on the ground and say, "This is mine." Right now, as we sit here in January 2026, the map of the Indian subcontinent is being redrawn. It's not happening with a declaration of war. It's not happening with a nuclear standoff. It is happening with the scrape of a bulldozer blade against granite at 16,000 feet. Today, we are looking north, not at the politics of Islamabad, nor the trade wars of Beijing, but at a specific coordinate that has suddenly become the most critical pressure point for India's national security. The Shaksgam Valley. You might have heard it. It's all around the news. Now, for 60 years, this region was a frozen dispute, a diplomatic footnote that most people ignored because it was too remote, too cold, and too difficult to access. It was out of sight and, frankly, out of mind. But the era of silence ended this month. While the world was watching the oceans, China was busy paving the glaciers. The reports from my research on this topic confirm a reality that Indian defense planners have feared for decades. The encirclement of India is no longer a theory. It has been poured in concrete. What do I mean by that? A 75-kilometer all-weather military highway now runs through territory that legally belongs to India, winding its way to the very back door of the Siachen Glacier. So why does a road in the middle of nowhere matter to you? Because this isn't just a road, it's a padlock. It is the final piece of a strategy designed to lock the Indian military into a chokehold, squeezing our defenses between a hostile West and an aggressive North. You see, this is a physical manifestation of a betrayal that happened in 1963, now weaponized in 2026. Today, we aren't just reading the news, we aren't just reading the warning signs. We are going to decode how a gift from Pakistan to China has turned into a noose for India's northern frontier. This is the Shaksgam Files.
You're listening to Nelson John 360. Nelson John 360.
Hello and welcome back to Nelson John 360. I'm your host, Nelson John. Now, to understand why that bulldozer in the mountains is so dangerous, we have to strip away the snow and look at the history underneath. And trust me, the history of the Shaksgam Valley is a masterclass in geopolitical theft. Let me be precise about where we are. Try and visualize the map with me. You know the crown of India, right? Ladakh. You know the Siachen Glacier. That is the highest battlefield on Earth, where our soldiers stand guard at negative 50 degrees. To the north of that glacier lies the Shaksgam Valley. It is a trans-Karakoram tract covering roughly about 5,000 square kilometers. Legally, this land belongs to India. When the Maharaja of Kashmir acceded to India in 1947, he didn't just sign over the valleys of Srinagar or the deserts of Jammu. He signed over the entire state, including the remote grazing lands of Shaksgam, which were administered by the Mir of Hunza, his vassal. So how did China get the keys to this Indian territory? They didn't conquer it. They didn't buy it. It was gifted to them. The year was 1963. Pakistan, having illegally occupied the area since 1947, found itself looking for a powerful ally against India. China, fresh off the 1962 war, was looking to secure its western frontiers. On March 2nd, 1963, they signed the Sino-Pakistan Boundary Agreement. In this deal, Pakistan ceded 5,180 square kilometers of Indian territory to China. Think about the implications of that. Pakistan giving away land it did not own to a country that had no legal claim to it. Now, this was done purely to buy strategic leverage. It was a transaction of stolen goods on an international scale. Now, for decades, diplomats have pointed to Article 6 of that agreement. What is Article 6? Article 6 is a fascinating legal loophole. It states that this border is provisional. It says, and I quote, "After the settlement of the Kashmir dispute between India and Pakistan, the sovereign authority concerned will reopen negotiations with the People's Republic of China." Let me simplify that for you. China admitted in writing, "We know this might not be ours forever. We'll talk about it later if the borders change." But here's the hard truth of 2026. Possession is 9/10 of the law. China has stopped treating Shaksgam as provisional. They're treating it as sovereign. You don't pour in hundreds of crores, into military highways on land you don't intend to give back. You build them on land you intend to keep. So what has changed? Why is the Indian Army chief now concerned? For years, the terrain was our best defense. The Shaksgam Valley is a geological nightmare. I mean, steep gorges, unscalable glaciers, freezing rivers. It was a natural wall. We assumed no one could bring a heavy army through there. But we underestimated Chinese engineering. Satellite imagery from late 2024 through early 26 tells a startling story. China has constructed a Class 50 all-weather road. It branches off from their national highway G219, which cuts through the Ughill Pass at 4,800 meters and pushes deep into the valley. Now, let me talk numbers, because the numbers, they are chilling. The road ahead has now reached within 30 to 50 kilometers of Indrakol. Indrakol is the northernmost tip of the Siachen Glacier. It is the wedge that separates the Chinese troops in the north from the Pakistani troops in the west. It is the high ground that India holds. But by building this road, China has effectively nullified the terrain advantage. They can now move heavy artillery, mobile missile launchers, and rapid reaction forces from Xinjiang to the doorstep of Siachen in a matter of hours, not weeks. This month, the Indian Ministry of External Affairs finally drew a line in the sand. Spokesperson Randir Jaiswal called the construction illegal and asserted India's right to take necessary measures. But as you know, diplomatic statements don't stop steamrollers. The reality on the ground is that the buffer is gone. The enemy is no longer on the other side of the mountain range. They are in the valley next door. Let us visualize the strategic picture here. All right. This is where it gets technical, but stick with me because this affects every defense calculation India makes. Now, for 40 years, India has defended Siachen based on a specific threat model. The threat from west, Pakistan. Our guns point west, our bunkers face west. We hold the Saltoro Ridge to look down on the Pakistani positions. But this new road, it creates a threat from the north. If a conflict breaks out, India now faces a classic pincer movement. Pincer movement, yes. Imagine trying to hold a door shut against someone pushing from the outside, that is Pakistan, while someone else suddenly starts breaking through the ceiling, that is China. You are forced to split your attention you are forced to split your resources. This road allows China and Pakistan to coordinate their attacks. It physically links China's Western Theater Command with Pakistan's 10 Corps. It turns the concept of a two-front war from a nightmare scenario into a logistical certainty. Defense analysts call this strategy salami slicing. It's a strategy of small incremental steps. First, a patrol, then a dirt track, then a paved road, then a permanent outpost. You see, each step is too small to go to war over. But when you add them up over 5 years, you realize the border has moved 50 kilometers inwards. You've been sliced. Now, a skeptic might ask, is China really spending billions just to annoy India? Well, the answer is no. Superpowers don't act on emotion. They act on interest. This road is not just a military asset. It's an economic artery. Let me explain to you why. The CPEC lifeline. All right. China is currently vulnerable at sea. If the US Navy blocks the Malacca Strait, China's energy supplies are cut off. They are desperate for land routes. Now you can understand the Shaksgam Valley Road connects to China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, the CPEC. It creates a direct loop from West China into Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. It's a plan B for their economy, a way to move goods and energy without touching the ocean. Another important asset is the nuclear vault. And then there are the minerals. The mountains of Gilgit-Baltistan and the Trans-Karakoram Tract are not just rocks. They are geological vaults. They are seeing reports of over 2,000 mining leases awarded to Chinese firms in the region. They are hunting for uranium, gold, molybdenum. China is securing the raw materials for its next generation of technology and weaponry right on our border. They are digging up Indian soil to build Chinese power. This is a heavy assessment, but it's not a hopeless one. The Indian establishment is not sitting idle. The silence you hear from the mountains is deceptive. There is a frantic activity behind the scene. When we look at the infrastructure, India is currently executing the most ambitious infrastructure blitz in Himalayan history. The DS-DBO road was just the start. We are tunneling through the Zojila and Shinkunla to make Ladakh accessible 24/7, 365 days a year. We are ensuring that if China brings a division to the border, we can match them in 48 hours. Also, looking at strategic posture, we are also seeing a shift in doctrine. India is moving from defensive positioning to active deterrence. The message being sent to Beijing is that the cost of any misadventure in Shaksgam will be prohibitively high. We hold the heights, we have the experience. The Indian soldier is the finest mountain warrior in the world. And that is a fact even our adversaries admit in private. So here's the bottom line. The Shaksgam Valley is no longer just a history lesson. It is the active front line of 2026. The Shaksgam files reveal a strategy of silent encirclement. China is betting that India will be too distracted, too cautious, or too slow to react to the concrete being poured in the north. But maps are not just drawn by bulldozers. They are defended by resolve. As citizens, we can't afford to be ignorant of our own geography. We cannot look at the top of the map and see empty white space. We must see the stakes. We must see the threat. And we must understand that the security of our country begins at the glaciers of the Karakoram. So that brings us to the end of another deep dive. If you enjoyed connecting the dots with me today, make sure you're following the show so you never miss an update. And hey, if you found value here, take a second to give this show a rating and probably drop this link in your group chats. It helps the show grow more than you know. Also, you can connect with me on Instagram. Look me up, NelsonJohn360. Drop me a message. Let me know what you think about the podcast episodes. I would love to hear from you. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and I'll catch you on the next Nelson John 360 episode.